Why are my Adobe X files slow? How to use components? Imagine working on a design and suddenly everything feels sluggish. Your mouse lags, switching between screens takes forever, and your progress stalls. Frustrating, right? Well, let's find out what might be causing those slowdowns and how you can fix them by mastering component creation in Adobe X. First, Adobe X performance issues usually come from how your project is set up, not because the software can't handle it. Large projects with many artboards, especially over 20, can slow things down. When you add complex interactions or nested components, Adobe X needs more processing power. This can make switching between design and prototype modes feel sluggish, and even basic actions like copying, pasting, or zooming might freeze or lag. Components are a big part of this. When you create components with many nested layers or multiple states, it adds to the file's complexity. Each state is like a mini version of the component, and having many of them can make Adobe X work harder. Copying or pasting components with lots of nested layers can take 20 seconds or more because the software has to process all those relationships and variations. File size also plays a role. If your project file grows to 1.5 or 2 gigabytes, it can use up a lot of your computer's RAM. Adobe X loads the entire file into memory, so bigger files mean more strain. Repeated components and duplicated layers make the file even larger, which can cause the program to become almost unresponsive. So what can you do to keep things running smoothly? First, split your project into smaller files. For example, if you're designing a website, create one file for mobile and another for desktop. Keep your design system and components in a separate linked library file. This way, your working files stay smaller and faster. When building components, limit the number of states. Instead of adding every variation into one component, break complex ones into smaller, simpler components with fewer states. This reduces processing load and keeps your file snappy. Use the repeat grid feature to duplicate elements instead of copying and pasting. Repeat grid handles repeated items more efficiently, saving your system from unnecessary strain. Organize your layers into clear groups from the start. Named groups make it easier to find elements and reduce the time Adobe X spends searching through layers. Proper organization also helps you manage components better and keeps your file lean. In your workflow, reuse styles like colors, text styles, and icons through the Assets panel. Applying styles across your project reduces redundancy and keeps your file size smaller. Use the layout grid to align elements consistently, which minimizes manual adjustments that can slow you down. Stacks are another handy tool. They automatically manage spacing and alignment for multiple elements, so you can adjust several items at once instead of doing it individually. Preview your work often to catch issues early. Fixing problems early prevents building on a shaky foundation that could slow your file down later. If your performance still lags after trying these tips, check your component nesting. Deeply nested components with multiple levels increase processing exponentially. Flatten the hierarchy where possible. Also, reduce linked asset libraries if you use many external sources, as each one adds overhead. Restart Adobe X periodically during long sessions. Over time, the app builds up memory usage, and restarting clears this. And finally, consider your hardware. Larger projects perform better on systems with higher CPU and more RAM. If you work on big files regularly, upgrading your hardware might be necessary. By organizing your components thoughtfully, breaking large projects into smaller files, and keeping your layers tidy, you can keep Adobe X running smoothly. Remember, managing components and files well is just as important as designing itself.